listening to the local edition of the Cats Roundtable, 970 AM The Answer. I'm your host, John Katzmatidis, and thank you for being with us every Sunday morning. One of the biggest headaches small business owners in New York have to deal with every day is the problems with dealing with New York City itself. Those who try to get their deliveries by truck, those who have vendors in front of their stores, etc., etc. One of the people that is dealing with small businesses in New York is a friend of mine named David Schwartz. David Schwartz, good morning this Sunday morning. How are you?
Good morning, John. It's great to be here on this terrific show.
Well, tell me, David, who do you represent in small businesses? And tell me a little bit about their problems.
Yeah. So I'm an attorney, but I'm also a spokesman for the New York Association of Grocery Stores. And we are part of a coalition for New Yorkers for street vending reform, John. And what we do is we fight for small businesses. Small businesses in this city are under attack. They're under attack every single day from every type of inspection possible, from health inspectors to police to everything, licensing, you name it, they're under attack. And New York is really made up of a lot of small businesses. That's what makes this city great. We're not a giant Walmart in New York. We're made up of bodegas and convenience stores and small grocery stores. And we're losing them. We've lost thousands of them due to really the government cracking down on them and the parking tickets and the street vendors especially.
For disclosure purposes, I must tell everybody, David, you do represent a few of our companies from time to time.
That's correct, John, and it's always been a pleasure to working with you. You're a friend, and you do some great work in this city, some of the greatest work being done by your companies.
And I do know that a few weeks ago, the people in our Gristedes operation called you in and had a complaint that these fruit vendors go and park their carts right in front of their front door.
Right, and it's Gristedes, but it's neighborhood groups, it's small vendors, it's grocery stores. What happens, John, is the grocery stores are paying taxes in this city. They are long-time firms. They've been out there for a long time. You have these street vendors that have come on the scene and are selling cheap goods to people. They're not paying taxes. They're not being inspected by the health department. They're not being regulated, and it's a free-for-all. And the intent, at least when we talk about the green carts, the fruit carts, the intent was terrific. The intent was to serve underserved neighborhoods, and it's been anything but that, John. What's been happening is they are putting fruit carts right in front of supermarkets, right in front of grocery stores. You tell me the logic of putting a fruit cart in front of a grocery store when the intent of the legislation was to serve underserved markets and have fruit markets so everybody could have fruits.
I know when they brought it to my attention, David, I said, well, the common sense thing to do is to make sure they're at least 200 feet away from another business. I mean, it shouldn't be, Cartier would not have watches sold in front of their doorstep. And I guess the existing food stores, whether it's supermarkets or bodegas or anything, shouldn't have a vendor just park themselves in front of the front door.
Right. 100%, John, and that's why we have this coalition. The coalition is made up of not just businesses, John. We have neighborhood groups involved with this coalition. We have New Yorkers of all kinds who understand that the street vendors are clogging up the streets. Their engines are on all day in a lot of cases. The food is not being inspected, and there needs to be some reasonable regulation. We're not looking to outlaw the street vendors. What we are looking for is for the mayor and for the city council to crack down and do some reasonable regulation where the brick and mortar businesses which make New York what New York is, the greatest city in the world, can exist forever and have the street vendors serve underserved markets.
And I also talked to Letitia James, and she's been on our show many times. She does a terrific job protecting the consumers. I think, Letitia, if you can hear me, please protect the small businesses. They have the right to be protected, too, by somebody in the city.
Absolutely. We want the public advocate to be on board, but we also want the mayor and we want the city council. And there is a lot of support in the city council. There is a lot of support, but so far we need the council to act. We need the council to come together. You know, they've been talking about issuing even more licenses. And the sad part about it is it's not the entrepreneurial spirit of New York. The entrepreneurial spirit are our small businesses, our brick and mortar businesses. These food carts and fruit carts, John, are being controlled by just a handful of enterprises. It's amazing. So when people think that the food cart is being owned by the person who's actually operating the food cart, that's complete nonsense in many cases, in the majority of cases. And we want to have an investigation to see who the few owners are of these food carts who are profiting by not paying taxes, not being inspected, and taking business away from the legitimate brick and mortar businesses.
Yeah, absolutely correct. Maybe Cy Vance should look into that. Do these people pay taxes? Or are they living off the taxpayers of the city?
Absolutely. And they're lying in their applications as well, because each card is supposed to be owned by an individual, and instead they're being owned by these conglomerates. So someone should do an investigation into this. And I really appreciate the time, John, that you've given to the New York Association of Grocery Stores to get this issue out there, and because it's an important issue and it affects all New Yorkers. One day, New Yorkers are going to wake up and they're not going to have their local convenience store around the corner.
David, you know our position. We're not for the Democrats or the Republicans. We're for New Yorkers. We believe in fairness, and we believe that the right thing should be done for all New Yorkers. And David, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for protecting small businesses. And I call all our friends in City Council and Letitia, and please help the small businesses of our city.
Thank you, John. It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much. And thank you for everything you do for the people of New York.
Now we're being joined by